Okay, I make that 1 o'clock, so we're going to get started. Hopefully there'll be others join us as we get going. Thank you for joining us either via LinkedIn or if you're watching the recording later via YouTube. Your time's valuable, so we're going to get started straight away. Welcome to OKRs for sales teams. Big thank you to the people who have been on previous webinars and clients of ours. We see you and we're really grateful for your continued support. If this is your first time, then thank you for taking time out. We really do appreciate you joining us, and hopefully you will come back to future webinars. If you're a salesperson, a business owner, or are managing a team of salespeople, then this is for you, OKRs for sales teams. Just a brief agenda on what we're going to go through today for you. Starting off with how did we get here, a little bit of history to the background of OKRs and probably more how they relate to KPIs. Next up, the challenges that OKRs may help you solve in your business. Then the OKR process, then some example results, and lastly we're going to finish up with an OK exercise for yourselves that you can take away and hopefully start to implement in your own business immediately. Just some housekeeping before we start. Please take a minute to check out our live workshops for 2023. We'd love to have you join us in London, Berlin and Mumbai. These are one-day go-to-market strategy workshops, and we hope to add at least one more date in the US to this, but at the moment, those are the 3 dates that we have confirmed. Next month's webinar is on the 10 rules of sales negotiation. It's extremely practical and relevant if you're in frontline sales or any commercial negotiation. So I would encourage you to please register for that via LinkedIn again. We'd be super grateful to have you join us. So there are over 120 people registered for this event via LinkedIn, and just under 50 registered via the website, and we're extremely grateful. As there is such a mix of different industries, people from different companies, people in different job roles, they could be salespeople, they could be from leadership teams. My ask to you is this: if after the webinar you're still struggling to understand where OKRs could fit into your business, where OKRs could help you grow and increase your sales revenues, then please, I would urge you to either email us at sales@closers.com or jump over to the website closers.com, and you can book a 30-minute call, no obligation, it's totally free, and nobody's going to try and sell you anything on that on that call. So that's a thank you for you joining us here. Let's get started. I'm sure many of you have seen this before in terms of business strategy, how a business management model. The balanced scorecard was invented by, or created, I beg your pardon, by Kaplan and Norton out of Harvard back in the 90s, and at one point 60-odd% of the FTSE 100 and the NASDAQ, a high percentage of the NASDAQ were using this. So this is a well-proven model, and this is really the history of KPIs, where KPIs started to be monitored, measured, and many companies, whilst they may not use the balanced scorecard now, because as I said, it started off in the 90s. I think you'll find that many companies are still using some version of this, and I'm sure you've seen that something similar where you've got the company's vision, strategy, and it cascades down. Now, if you're in sales and you're wondering, why is this relevant to me? I'm just a salesperson. This is super important because this is how your customers are organized. This is the way that they run their operations. This is what we need to understand in order to help us sell to them. So many companies are continuing to use a version of this model. Nothing wrong with it. It's just that I think for most companies it's a little bit intimidating to get started, because it can feel like it's something just for big business, although I would completely argue that, because it's a fantastic system for small businesses as well. And we've been using that ourselves for many years, and you know, we would stand by that. It's a great system. So just moving on, here's some examples of companies using the balanced scorecard in action, and you can see this one is Starbucks. And again, this is where KPIs come in, and KPIs are typically there to measure the health of the business. It's almost like a health check. They're measuring and monitoring what's happening in your business. And each of those areas that you can see on the screen there, Starbucks will have KPIs that they're working towards and monitoring, as I said. Next up, Tesco's. This is Tesco's balanced scorecard, and you can see where they've really customized it. We've also added a fifth segment, and yeah, that's okay. Typically, we would suggest that unless you're in an industry with some different, with something slightly unique about it, and what springs to mind would be if you're in oil and gas, you may want to add another segment for safety, because safety is obviously a huge thing in the oil and gas industry. We've worked with clients who are in investment banking, and they have a section completely on governance. So, you know, there are exceptions to the 4-quadrant rule. However, for the vast majority of companies out there, having those 4 quadrants and splitting your business up and managing and actually measuring the performance by that is going to be really accurate, adequate, I beg your pardon, for you. So, KPIs. We're here to talk about OKRs, but nearly everybody, many people have not heard of what an OKR is, and they get confused with KPIs. So let me try and explain the difference in as simple terms as possible. KPIs are there to measure the performance and quality. OKRs, on the other hand, are they're objectives. They're inspiring BAG goals, BAG, big ambitious goals. Next up, KPIs measure your BAU, business as usual, and can indicate when an objective is required. Key results, and forgive me, I should have said the OKRs, O stands for objectives, KR stands for key results. Key results measure outcomes and progress towards your goals, or indeed attainment of that goal. You can include KPIs in your key results as a measurement of when you've achieved that goal, so to speak. But OKRs, this is the really big thing. OKRs are there to drive change, improvement, and innovation. And that, for me, that's the big difference. KPIs are measuring your performance, your business as usual. It's a health metric. They're not there to drive change, improvement, and innovation the way that OKRs are. And OKRs, I would describe it as a business goal-setting framework. Objective key results, I would describe it as a business goal-setting framework. It's not new, it's been around for a while. There are lots of big brands using OKRs, and although I would caveat that by saying that many companies use OKRs for engineering, software development, and there are not enough companies using OKR for sales. So it's very common in software development, agile projects, those sorts of things. However, it's less common in sales. But either way, the methodology, the framework is very well proven. So when it comes to sales, I think one of the biggest challenges that we've got is that sales has got so many different areas, and those areas, the importance or priority of those areas changes from industry to industry, from business to business, and even within particular teams, it's going to change. So it's often difficult to figure out exactly what problem we're trying to solve. However, there are some generic problems that many companies are actually experiencing. So number one, 23.4% of salespeople are hitting their sales target. You know, that's a very low number. Now, maybe there's some other reasons for that. I'm not for 1 minute blaming all of this on the salespeople, but that's a very low number. We've got to admit that, you know, we could do better there. 85% of employees do not feel engaged in the workplace. So I would describe that as when you end up with a culture of satisfactory underperformance, when people are happy not delivering at 100%, not attaining any particular goals, not performing as good as they may well be able to. So I think, again, that's a really important thing that we've got to recognise. And lastly, 71% of C-level execs believe productivity is critical to success. And as we go through today's webinar, you're going to see how these three things are common things that you can use OKRs to actually help you overcome. So another big bugbear of ours, I'm sure you've heard us talking about this before, is getting sales and marketing aligned. Rather than having your two departments going in different directions, it is super important. It's critical to get them aligned. 60 to 70% of B2B content is never used. So why is that? Why are the salespeople not using the content that the marketing teams are creating? There's a mismatch there. Next up, 65% of reps cannot find content to send to prospects. So the content's there, but they cannot find it. It's in SharePoint, it's in OneDrive, it's in Dropbox, it's wherever. And we've got to have a better way of working than that. And lastly, 79% of marketing leads never convert to sales. 79% of marketing leads never convert to sales. That's a huge number. And if you think about it, does that equate to 79% of your budget, your marketing budget? Does that mean 79% of your budget spend, marketing spend, is not generating any leads or any business? Just something that I would suggest that we ask ourselves. So, teamwork makes the dream work. Tightly aligned sales and marketing creates 36% increase in retention. So get the teams aligned. The closer they are, and I would argue that you may even consider abolishing the terms sales and marketing and put everyone together in what I would call a growth department or something like that, a revenue department. But that would definitely be something to consider if you've got an issue with that. The minute you create different departments, you're going to create barriers. And if you merge the two together, call it growth, call it revenue, call it whatever you want, but put them together and you're going to see an improvement there. Companies become 67% better at closing deals when your sales and marketing is aligned, and 24% faster revenue growth and 20% higher profitability when you align your sales and marketing. So these are the sort of common challenges, the most frequent challenges that we're helping our customers with. Let's go back to KPIs and OKRs now that we've identified that, and try and in a more practical management style, how are they different? So traditionally KPIs, they're measuring output. OKRs are measuring outcomes. KPIs are focused on lag indicators, so something's happened. So it's the end of month figures, it's the end of month activity, it's the end of month revenue, right? Whereas OKRs, they're focused on the lead indicators. So those are the things that drive the revenue. Those are the things that drive the behavior. Next up, KPIs focus on training. That may not be a bad thing. However, what's better is to focus on coaching and mentoring. And there's a number of reasons. We're a training company. We obviously love training. We do a lot of coaching and mentoring, but training is only going to be good if you've got the structure, the management, and the coaching those systems there to support it after the training. So those things are really important, having the structure, the management, and the coaching resources available after you do any form of training. Other reasons that we would suggest that you should be looking at OKRs for your business: they help your salespeople become develop more autonomy. They help them become more self-accountable. It helps as an organization, you will become more agile and innovative. this one for me is really important. Focus. My own belief is a big reason that OKRs work and work so well is because they provide a focus that everybody gets around to actually work on particular problems, particular improvements and innovations. So that focus for me is super important. Cross-functional cooperation, not just, I would encourage you to not just think about your sales and marketing, sales, marketing, operations, you may call it engineering in your organization, whatever that delivery mechanism is in your business, the more that you can bring these people together, the more successful you're going to be. Next up, reduce time setting goals. Again, that's an important one, and more ambitious goal setting. So it's so important to think big. Big ambitious goals are the way to go, and nobody is going to be inspired, motivated and challenged by 10-15% growth. Nobody, it's just not inspiring, it's not motivating. We've got to set big ambitious goals, and that doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to, if we set a huge goal, that we failed if we missed it. If we set a goal of 100% and we only get to 80%, that's a huge improvement on where we were originally. So, failure is not when you don't achieve that big ambitious goal. Failure for us is when you don't even try. You don't set the big ambitious goals and you don't even try. So let me give you a practical example of how you can take a KPI and you can convert this into an OKR. So going back to the balanced scorecard, we split our sales into 4 quadrants. We call these the high value quadrants and areas of sales: finding, closing, growing and developing. Now, if you just take a minute to think about it, if you can just focus your time on finding people to sell to, once you find them, you've got to close them, and once you've closed them, you want to keep them and grow them. Those are the high value activities, and the developing is that ongoing development that the business, the sales team, and the sales people need to keep up to pace, to keep at the front. That could be domain knowledge, it could be sales training, it could be product training, it could be any. Giving back to society is a good one for that. Doing charity work, helping others is a great way of developing and growing for everybody, not just salespeople. So here's an example of where you can take a simple OKR and you can add, simple KPIs. So you take one KPI, lifetime value, LTV, lifetime value of a client, increase the lifetime value by 50% by the end of Q3. Now, this is just an example. You would obviously choose objectives and key results that are going to be relevant for your business. This is just an example based on a KPI. And again, you don't have to base your objectives on KPIs. If it's something that's innovation, there will be no KPI there that's measuring it. So it's not just about KPIs, it's about other areas in your business. So once we've got those objectives, we then figure out what are the key results. And remember, a key result is something that indicates progress to or the achievement of our goal, our objective. So in this example here, we're looking at increase in CSAT, customer satisfaction scores, from 5 to 7. We're increasing the number of annual contracts and looking to upsell 50% of users from base to premium. This was from a SaaS client that we worked with. So once we've defined what the key results are, we then work out what are the sales activities. And these are what we convert into what we call sales sprints. And those are the activities that the team need to be working on to achieve the key results, which will help them meet the objective. And everything cascades down from the top. And it is super simple. That's one of the main advantages I would suggest about it. It's just super simple to get this set up. So we have a framework that we take people through, and we would typically do this either online or in an in-person workshop. And there's just some examples here. Here's some examples of objectives, goals from ourselves and from clients. So increase international revenue by 300% by end of Q4. That's one from closers, and I'm going to show you the results from that. Increase recurring revenue by 450%. Increase sales conversion ratio from 24 to 50%. So you can see these are big, ambitious goals, and these goals should be inspiring, motivating. This work should be stuff that you want to prioritize. You want to focus all your time on this because it is so rewarding. It delivers in terms of results. Next up, as I said, once we've got the objectives, we work out what are the key results, and then from there we work out what the sales, the activities are, which we then convert into 30-day sales sprints. And again, this is a great way of getting the team focused. It's a great way of getting the team aligned, and it includes cross-functional people. So you would at this point here, you're going to include people from marketing, operations, etc., to work on a particular objective together. Sales, just another thought there. Sales managers love this because they can see that the salespeople, the day-to-day activity of the salespeople, is completely aligned with the company's sales objectives and sales goals. Salespeople love this because they can see what they're working on, they can see how why it's important, and they can see that it's linked to the company's goals. So they're much more likely to be engaged, and they're much more likely to then, the productivity goes up. They're much happier, and it helps hold everybody accountable to the system. So you're going to need some form of structure to once you've set the goals, to actually make sure that you're going to achieve these goals. And what we would recommend is weekly, monthly, and quarterly. And you can see the under the main headings there. This is where you're going to make sure that you're on track and tracking progress towards these big objectives. Now, the magic starts in this section here. We have what we call sprint dependent meetings, and these are meetings that are completely dependent on the activities that are in the sales sprints. Now, that could be training, it could be coaching, it could be anything at all. It's dependent on the sprint, so it's going to be different for every objective, and it's going to be different, and it's going to evolve every time that you reset your objectives quarterly. Everything's going to change, but the beauty of this is that it's not generic. Those activities in the red section there are completely bespoke to the company. They're completely bespoke to achieving the sales goals that the companies set themselves. So really simple but effective framework. If you don't have any way of tracking this, you can use a spreadsheet. We personally use Microsoft Teams. We're great fans of Microsoft Teams, and you can set this up in there. But if you don't have technology, you can easily do this in the Microsoft Excel spreadsheet. Equally, if you're already using a product like Asana, you can set it up in Asana and track it there. I would encourage you not to go out and start to look at new software initially, because when you're adding in additional software, it's just another it's another place that salespeople have got to add information. It's another place where managers have to go to retrieve the information. If you've got no software, no technology that's going to track it at the moment, I would focus on getting started first and getting the results going. Just track it via spreadsheet, and then as you progress, then look at other ways and better ways where you can actually track it and make it easier for yourself. So results. Here's the important bit I would suggest. So this is an example of an objective, and this is from closers. So increase international revenue by 300%, 300% by end of Q4. And you can see where we've worked out what the key results will be in terms of allowing us to tell that we're either making progress to or we've achieved that goal of 300% international revenue growth. And then from there, we work out what the activities are. I'm not sure if it might be too small, forgive me, to read that, but there are 3 different people involved in this particular task to make it happen, so to speak. So, and this is really important because we only train and coach people on this, on what we use in our own business, and that way we've got a really deep understanding of how everything works, and we can show you the examples like this of where we use it in our own business to help you, hopefully inspire you to use it in your business. So, as I said, the objective here is increase international revenue by 300% by end of Q4. So one of the things that, if you remember, we talked about was KPIs focus on lag indicators, OKRs focus on lead indicators. So if we go back to what are the lead indicators for us to increase international revenue by 300%, if we're just going to measure that number, right, that's a lag indicator. So what we've got to do is we've got to work back from that and work out what is it we need to do to actually drive that revenue. And the further back we go to get to what I would describe as the root, the root of that, then the more successful we're going to be. So in our world, sales, we're blessed that sales, it's a pretty simple sales model, right? The majority of companies don't buy from us until they've had some form of meeting, whether that be Teams, most of it's Teams, but sometimes it might be face-to-face. And before that, we have to somehow generate that lead for that meeting. So before the lead, what is it that generates the leads? So the majority of our leads come from our website. So if we then work on that basis, we've then got to do something to the website to generate sales leads, to help generate sales leads. Now, we don't just get leads from the website, we get leads from LinkedIn as well, but I'm going to use the website here as an example. So one of the things that we do as a team, right, we make sure that our website is found, right, by people searching for things like consultative sales training, telesales training, online sales coaching. We make sure that our website is found, right, by people searching for those keywords. Now, you can see here we've added the German language, because remember, this particular objective was about international revenue. We've added the German language to the website, and you can see that we've got 36 keywords on page 1 of Google in German language, and we've got 22 keywords on position 1 on page 1 of Google, and that is the start of the lead generation process if you've got a website. And I would argue that 99% of you, it's going to be the same thing. If you've got a website and it's not being found, it's just a waste of money. Your website has got to be found, it's got to be ranked, and just to give you an idea, we've got over 200 words ranking in English on page 1 of Google now, but this project, as I said, was for international revenue, and we've got Germany here. Here's Holland, and you can see this one, 27 in the top on page 1 of Google in Holland in the Dutch language, and I'm not going to make excuses. However, I'm sure if you're searching for sales training in Dutch at the moment, unless you're in The Hague, where this search is, you can see there where this search is based on, you're going to get slightly different results. So Google is adjusting the results based on the searcher's location. So if you search from The Hague, I promise this stuff's real. And Holland, we've got 16 on position 1, page 1. This one's India. 26 on position 1, page 1 in Hindi, and 40 on page 1 itself in Hindi in India. So this was part of our strategy, and we did run a little bit overwards in time at the early stage of this project, but we very rapidly caught up, and we're currently 185% over last year. Now, remember, the goal is by 300 by Q4, end of Q4, so we're still more than confident that we're going to get to that 300 figure and hopefully smash it, but we're currently at 185%. Now, if we never sell any other business abroad, if we don't get any other business, we've still got a 185% increase. So, if we don't get any more business between now and the end of Q4, this project has been a huge plus for us. So it's just been a big win. And obviously what we're doing is as we would encourage you to do, we're tracking everything in a CRM system, which is super important. If you're not using a CRM, and yes, there are companies out there still not using a CRM, or they've got a CRM but they don't use it, I would urge you to sort of double down on that, and you can see in there where the different areas that you need to be at least tracking to make sure that you're making progress. So everything that we do is tied into our sales playbook. So we would encourage you, because OKRs, it's really about coaching. So if you don't have a copy of this sales playbook, go to closers.com. Under the resources tab, you can download a free copy, either in Microsoft OneNote, which is this one, which is a digital one. It will only load if you've got the business edition of Microsoft Office 365. And even then, sometimes it can be difficult to load an external OneNote file. If you've got problems, on the website as well, there's the exact same playbook, but it's in Microsoft Word, which is you can start editing immediately. And this is where you've got every single resource that a salesperson would need to be successful. And it's a template, you're going to have to work on it, but again, we would encourage you to start. And the main thing is the coaching here, because OKRs are relying on you coaching and growing your people in order for them to be successful. So I am super keen for people on this call, people watching this. I'm super keen for people on this call to actually take forward the OKR concept in their own business and use them to increase your sales. So hopefully you're going to have a pen and paper handy. If not, I'm going to send you a recording of this session, and you can just pause at this bit here. So just think about what 5 strategic sales objectives, if you accomplish them, would have the biggest impact on your revenue. Now, why am I choosing 5? Well, typically when we're doing this with big companies, we would urge them to start off with 3 objectives. Now, the reason we want them to think about 5 is because it's great when you can have a selection to choose from, and the 2 that you don't choose, you're going to use when you get to the end, when you reset your OKRs at the end of each quarter. So it's not something that would go to waste, but it gets you thinking, and it's also good to get the team aligned. If you can show them 5 and say, okay, guys, out of the 5, which 3 would you choose? So if you're a small company, I would suggest you start off with 1 OKR and just focus all your efforts on that 1 OKR. Bigger companies start off with 3 OKRs and just grow from there. And the best way to learn this is to do it. So ask yourself these questions. Are these aligned with our vision and values? Do the objectives drive change, improvement, or innovation? What problems are we facing that require solving? So think about that. What needs to happen in order to achieve a future objective? Those are all ideas that you can use in terms of choosing and setting your objectives. And another one that I really like is that, what could you do to build a moat around your business that would prevent your competition from catching up from you. So what could you do revenue-wise? What could you do sales-wise that would put you so far ahead of your competitors that it would be almost impossible for them to then catch you? And you know, this is about these have got to be big, ambitious goals. They've got to be big, they've got to be ambitious, and they've got to be motivating and inspiring. So take a minute, think, just write down what will those big, ambitious goals be in your business. Once you have done this, forgive me. So next up, once you've set those objectives, we need to work out what the key results are. Now remember, the key results indicate that you're making progress or you have achieved one of your objectives. Now, your key results should include hard targets like percentages, KPIs, dates, and they should stretch and motivate you. So, if you're not motivated when you look at these goals and these key results, there's something wrong. You need to go back to the drawing board. What initiatives do we need to undertake in order to achieve those key results? So you may have to change things. You may have to start doing new things. You may have to stop doing old things. So as salespeople, there's, I know salespeople are typically working 40, 50, 60 hours a week. So you can't work any more than that. You're just going to break yourself. So something has to give, and you're going to have to give up some things that are not delivering as much in value as these goals are going to do. So, for example, and I've got no problem with Instagram, but if you're on something like Instagram all day long, right, that's not going to be an activity that's going to drive as much revenue, as much leads as LinkedIn, because LinkedIn's more of a B2B platform. So you're going to have to make some hard choices, and you're going to have to prioritize what is the thing that drives the revenue the most. And these, once you've got these key results and these goals, right, you should want to do these. You should want to spend your time on LinkedIn if that's what's been agreed. Equally, it's got to be motivating for everybody, and you've got to be able to track it. Next up, what skills does our team need to undertake the initiative successfully? So it may be that you're going to launch an outbound sales campaign, and it may be that your people need help. How do I generate leads on LinkedIn? And maybe you need help with telesales, how to make a cold call, all those things. If you need, if your people need support, you've got to work out what support they need, and that is where the coaching comes in. That's where the coaching comes in. So the sales managers are going to be there to coach the salespeople on how to do these different things. Next up, who needs to be involved? We talked about cross-functional support. You may need people from different departments, and that's great. Who will be the team lead for each initiative? You want somebody who's going to be leading the team for this, and constantly getting the team focused on these key results. Once we've done that, the next stage is to work out what your sales sprints are. Now, the sales sprints these are the sales, marketing, and operational activities that drive the key results. So if we talked about cold calling, we talked about LinkedIn, it could be an email campaign, it could be an event, an exhibition, a seminar, a workshop, it could be anything, right? What activity is driving that? If you're not sure, go back to your CRM, look at your CRM. Look at your CRM for the last 12 months, post-lockdown. Which deals drove the most revenue? Which deals delivered the biggest revenue, and what were the lead sources for those? Now, I'm not saying that those would be, this is guaranteed, but that would be a good place to start, is doubling down on those activities that gave you the leads for those big deals that you won last year. Success, remember, success is completing your activities that you agreed to. So, failure isn't when you don't achieve something, it's when you don't try, when you don't get out of bed, when you just give up before you've even started. So you've got to understand that there is no magic wand, there are no silver bullets, right? And you've got to do the hard yards to get the rewards. However, the harder you work, the easier it becomes. Little example, I can remember when we did one of our early webinars on LinkedIn. I'm pretty sure we had probably only 2-3 people registered for the webinar. As of this morning, I think there was around 170 people had registered for this webinar. Now, you don't go from 0 to 170 overnight. It takes time. You've got to do it consistently. So, as I said, there are no silver bullets or magic wands. And lastly, in sales, you will never be successful unless your motivation and your hunger exceeds your ability to avoid hard work. So, everybody's working hard. Times are difficult. The economy is certainly changed. The energy crisis, the cost of living, all of that is definitely things that we need to be concerned about. However, I would urge you to take control. You've got to take control over your life. Take control of the things that you can actually influence and focus on those, right? And don't expend your energy on things that you've got no control over. So I'm just going to quickly skip back through this because I really do want you to, if possible, I want you to get this set up for yourself. So your homework for everybody, your homework is, I want you to set 5 strategic sales objectives, right? That are going to be life-changing. They're going to change your business. If you're a salesperson, you're thinking, well, this isn't relevant. I need the leadership team. If you're a salesperson, think, well, what are the biggest deals that I could do that would make me the best salesperson in the industry? Not the best salesperson in the company. What would make me the best salesperson in my industry? Make sure they're aligned with your vision and values. And then you've got to make sure that these objectives are driving change, improvement, and focus your energy on this. And I promise it's going to make a difference to you. Don't be frightened if you're in sales to ask for help. Ask for help from your colleagues. Ask for help from marketing. Ask for help from your sales manager and the leadership team. I promise, if you go with big ambitious goals to your sales manager or the business owners, they're not going to say, "Oh, get out of here." Right? I don't want you to close 10 enterprise accounts by the end of Q4. They're going to say, "I love it. I love it. How can I help?" So don't be frightened to share those big ambitious goals that you've got, right, and ask for help with those goals. Again, just to recap, key results. Work out what the key results are that are going to tell you that you're on track. Those are typically going to be KPIs, but they may not be KPIs. What initiatives do you need to undertake to do this? What skills do we need? If you need skills training, go and get skills training. Do whatever you've got to do to make this happen. Next up, and lastly, is the sales sprints. And remember, the sales sprints are the activities that we do that drive the key results. Now, we typically run 30-day sprints. Our 30-day sprints restarts at the beginning of every month. And what we're doing is that we run for 3 weeks, and then the last week we're not running the sprints to allow us to catch up on other work, and we restart the sprints at the beginning of the month. So it's a really good getting into that rhythm is super important. And for those 3 weeks, we've gone from 0 to 100% of our time. In those 3 weeks, 100% of our time is on OKRs. So, and why is that? Because they're motivating, they're inspiring, and they deliver results. We showed you the results. They really deliver results, and it becomes very rewarding. So I would potentially argue that our 1 week off at the end of the month, where we're not doing the sprint, we've now gravitated, and we do more and more stuff that is connected to the sprint It's a great way of working, great way of managing activity, and I'd thoroughly recommend it. So doesn't matter what industry you're in, doesn't matter what company structure you've got, doesn't matter what role you've got. I promise OKRs can help you grow your sales. And as I said at the start, many thanks to everybody who's registering. And if you're in any way unsure as to how OKRs can help you drive your sales, make improvements in your business, then feel free to email us there at sales@closes.com, or go to the website and you can book a call via the online diary. Thanks so much. Please remember to register for next month's webinar. If you're watching the recording on YouTube, please like and subscribe and share. That would be great. That's it. We're done. Have a great day, and let me know how you got on with your OKRs. It'd be great to hear back from you, to hear how you're making progress.